Now live? Yes, we are now live. And welcome everyone to the Art Heroes podcast. By a lovely tradition, most people watch this in the recording, but I'm still going to welcome everybody who watches this live. You guys are the minority, and and we're here also like a little bit of a minority. So welcome everyone, and I'm here with Jeff Hansen. Jeff.
Hey, everyone.
Yeah, welcome to the show, guys. Whoever is here watching us live, you can definitely say hi in the comments. And as we go, you can also post any questions you have whatsoever, and I'll try to throw them to Jeff so that he's not like too relaxed here, right? Otherwise, it's just going to be too easy and like not enough exercise. Well, no, I don't want to be mean. Anyway, Jeff, welcome to the show. And for everybody who hasn't seen Jeff's stuff before, I'm just going to quickly say that Jeff is from Denmark and he's based in Copenhagen. And Jeff works primarily in TV shows, and he's got like a bunch of different experience that we're going to talk about later. And Jeff has just completed his amazing likeness project that we're secretly really proud of because it turned out so great. So we're going to talk about his likeness stuff as well. So Jeff, like, can you do me a favor and do a little intro of yourself as well? So, you know, like, so that it's kind of a complete from two sides. So what do you do?
What I do, all right. So I'm 29 years old. I'm coming from Copenhagen, like I just said, and I work as a 3D artist, and I have mainly worked in TV shows as a modeler, and been doing a slight bit of rigging as well. At the moment, I'm just trying to make it run around as a freelancer, and I think that's pretty much it at the moment.
We've got somebody else from Copenhagen here.
Oh yeah, hi Chalfa.
Awesome. So cool. And Jeff, like, let's start like from the very beginning. How did this whole like 3D journey start for you? And how did you end up in the industry?
So,
I know there's some Blender involved.
Yeah. So honestly, it started when I was quite young, to be honest. I was at one of my parents' friend's house, and their kid showed me like a wireframe of an X-Wing from Star Wars.
Okay.
And I thought it looked super cool, but I had no idea what the fuck was going on. So I came home and I started asking around, like, hey, do you guys know how to make these visual effects for movies? And no one knew, because this was before, like, right now you can find it everywhere on the internet, right? And it's in every movie, but back then no one knew. And I accidentally stumbled upon Blender and just started sort of using it and going around. And I remember being super proud the first time I managed to just get a cube, and it looked really awesome because I had been drawing, and just getting a cube right in perspective was super hard. After, sort of trying it out for a long time, trying to blend the whole technical part of Blender with drawing. And back then, I gotta tell you, it was a nightmare learning Blender. It had probably the steepest learning curve you can possibly imagine.
I know.
It was all hotkeys. There's no buttons. There's no manual. Just go get them, tiger. So you just had to like sort of start hitting a keyboard and hope for the best. But I managed to get somewhere, and I got hooked on it. So later on, I actually went to a university for 3D art.
Okay, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Again, the minority.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm just an outlier in every way,
Yes.
But so I went there and I took my degree. I had a really rough start after I came out of school, because, I wouldn't exactly say that jobs are everywhere, especially if you try to stay in the city where you graduate, and it's in a small city as well. So it took me a while to really hit the ground. And after that, I got my job at Wilfilm, which was, thankfully for me, super stable. Stayed there for quite a few years, working on TV shows. And I think it's been like half a year since I stopped at Wilfilm. And so right now I'm kind of figuring out what's going to happen next.
Right. Cool. So talk to me a little bit about, about what it means actually working in TV shows. Like, what do you think makes it, I don't know if it's harder or easier, or like how is it special for 3D artists working in TV shows?
So I think it's just different than, say, movies in the way that when you do TV shows, you have to do a lot of minutes, like an insane amount. I think if we take Ninjago as an example, which I worked on a lot of seasons for, a season is 10 to 20 episodes, depending on the season you pick. And that's 22 minutes each. So right. we have to do a ton of work in a short amount of time. So you really gotta learn to do your block outs. You gotta work from the bottom up and not sort of fiddle with your details. And I think you just gotta be more smart. You can't just throw money at the problem.
Wow. This is crazy.
I think that's the biggest. Yes, I think we used, depending on the episode, in my department, the asset department, who we did modeling and rigging of props, we used between 1 and 3 weeks per episode. So that's a lot of work. 22 minutes of modeling.
So how long, like, wait, come again. How much time do you have actually to complete 22-minute episode?
So that's not for the entire production, just for our department, which is like quite early on. We're just after the concept artists. So we do. And
what did you do, like, with your department?
We did modeling of all the props and setting up the rigging, but we didn't finish all the modeling. We had to outsource parts of it, just like the last part of setting loops, kind of just polishing it up. That we didn't really have time for that.
Yeah.
So we just made sort of the big decisions, proportions, and unless something had to be super specific, right?
Yeah, and so I don't know if it's like NDA'd or you can disclose like a couple of examples of TV shows. I mean, like, you don't have to. We're like at this podcast, we're very familiar with the term NDA. So if it's still not public, that's fine.
I think we can talk about most of the work.
Okay.
So I've worked on Ninjago from season 6 to 10, I believe. And we did the Star Wars: The Freemaker Adventures, season 1 and 2, and I think it got discontinued after that, unfortunately. But that was a super cool show, though. So those were the main ones. We also did a season for something called Novelmore. I think it's actually free on YouTube with Playmobile.
Cool.
Yes.
And so what's the what's like the team, like the team that works on this type of TV show? How big is it? And at least or maybe like just your part of the team. I mean, I can totally imagine it's not just like one person working on all the props in the world.
No, we were actually not that many in the asset team. We were, depending on the time, between, let's say, 3 to 7 people.
Okay.
So, and then obviously that's not finishing it up. We have the outsourced team as well. And we have a lot of animators. I mean, these guys, they just fill up the floors. Because it's, in modeling, we can reuse a lot of our stuff. So if we're smart, we can reuse like buildings and props and stuff like that. So we kind of build it up so we don't have to do as much in the last episode. But the animators, they still have to like do 22 new minutes every single episode, right?
Wow. Okay. Crazy. So I can imagine that you as a prop modeler work from the concept art and build it up from there, right?
Yeah, for sure. Right. Most of the time we had a concept. There were a couple of times where it was just you had a director come at you and it's just like, I want something that can do this. And you just go ahead and you sort of figure out a way to do it. They have to do a chase. Can you end this in such a way so it doesn't look bad and stuff like that? So it's kind of a process where you talk with the director, you talk with the concept artist, you talk with your lead. My lead, who was really good at talking us into not focusing on details, because especially when you're new, you come out, you want to do, I want to do really cool stuff. Like it has to have bolts everywhere and tire tracks and all this kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, Jeff, you're talking like my 5-year-old son. Yeah, they also want to have all this cool stuff.
All the cool stuff. Like, he just kept hammering it, make it more blocky.
So what did your lead say? Like, just like cut it?
It was just kind of kept talking all the details down. Like, guys, this is stupid. Just don't do it. Just make it a cylinder. That's fine for, like, let's say a tire or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Keep it down. Because, you know, it's a matter of time before you have either a concept artist or a director at your throat telling you that it has to change. And then you just wasted, let's say, 2-3 hours doing something which is beautiful, but it's going to get cut and it's time sensitive. So, you know, now you got to work double time. Nobody wants that.
Oh my God, no. God, no. So to what extent do you feel that your art actually influenced the quality or the final result? So kind of, you know, like, to what extent do you think as an artist you have, let's say, and I don't know, like you leave the trace on what's out there?
I think that depends a lot on the asset you're working on. So say I'm making a city. I made a huge city for one of the shows.
Okay.
And in this city, I basically have complete control of the look of it, in a way. Like, I have certain parameters I have to meet. Like, it has to have a place where they can do a chase. It has to have a staircase here and there and like stuff like that. But I have quite a lot of control where it's me showing through, like, how can I composite a shot that looks cool, or how can I make sure that no matter what angle the animator's looking at, it will look good for them. Like, it will have a nice silhouette and stuff like that. But say I'm doing a prop or a vehicle, like a car, that's basically the concept art, and I'm just the minion making sure it looks like he wants it to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I guess you're saying that there's different level of detail in concept art.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, so
there's
like
a big difference.
Yeah.
I'll say some concept artists are very conceptual, so they're like, it's a little more flimsy, so they give you a lot more freedom. And then some different concept artists might be like a bit more rigid and kind of had this picture in mind, where they want to have this exact picture, and you just gotta find a way to make sure that they can use that in the final frame. So you kind of try to fit their frame or their idea a lot more than just a general idea.
Right. So what's your best tip for artists who are looking at, like, learning how to translate concept art into 3D? Like, what would you start with, and what is the important thing, and what's not important? What do you think about that?
That's a good question. I think, first of all, you just got to do it a lot. And I think, like, first, actually a lot like we did in this program we just had here. So first of all, you just try and hit it, like, right off the bat, just with the proportions, right? Then try and take it out maybe into Photoshop. Draw some lines to see how well you hit it. Like, just take a big fat red marker and just see how well you hit the different proportions. Like, how wide is this part compared to the one I made and stuff like that. And at that point, you're I'll say you can get pretty close. And in case you want, like, even more, you can try and hit the same camera angle as in the concept art with yours, and then just try and fit it as well as possible. I think that's kind of the general trend.
Right.
Like,
and so on the job, from your practical experience, is it more important to be the perfect translator, or to be the better artist?
I actually think for the most part it's the better translator. Because you know, when you're at work, it's not your work. Like, it's someone else's. It's the directors or the client. So you want to make sure that the thing that they have in mind is hit as best as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're a great artist, I mean, that's double.
Well, that kind of helps, right?
It helps a lot, and it makes sure that you can come with some nice input. But in general, I think when you're at work, it's someone else's work that you gotta make sure it's hit. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you look at my portfolio, like, I have nothing professional on it. Because it's in a way, it's not really my work.
Personal projects, yes, I know.
It's all personal stuff. It's not like I'm against it, but it's just, you know, what if it's not exactly how I would have done it?
Yeah, well, you never know. So, and on your on your portfolio, then you would only make stuff from the concept, or you would, like, make your own concept as well?
I think both are fine. I mean, it depends on, on your skill level. If you're really bad at concepting, you probably should do your own concept. So
Okay.
I've done both. I think if you're looking for a job, I think you should definitely have something that shows that you can hit a concept, because it's a skill that you're going to use it every day, right? No matter what job, even if it's prop, environment, character, you're going to have to be able to hit a concept. Or at least be able to translate what the director or your lead is telling you should make.
Yeah, but I really appreciate you saying this, because I think it's really, really important that to start with, you should be a perfect translator, and then you can kind of experiment with your own concepts, because that's unfortunately or fortunately for some the nature of like 3D artists, because we've got to be able at least to redo already existing stuff. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and only add on.
I do find one thing peculiar though is that I used to mostly do my own designs, even though I sucked at it because I was just young. I just wanted to do stuff, right? Now that I've done a lot of years of just translating mostly, it's actually kind of hard to get back into the design mentality. So just be wary of it. Like there are certain tools you can use to help you design, like just look for heavy accidents and stuff like that. But I mean, it's actually if you've got to sit down and just make like concrete design choices, if you haven't done that for a long time, because that's a skill, it's actually quite difficult.
Right. Huh. That's interesting. But like I think also with some practice, you can definitely get back to it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's just like a matter of practice. Talking about which, I actually wanted to bring up another topic that that I wanted to talk to you about, and it's your indie game experience, because I find it like it's just like a tremendous thing and a lot of learning. So can you like tell me a little bit about the story of the indie game?
Sure. So when I during my time at school, at our 5th semester, so we have this thing in Denmark called Daddio, which is a place where different disciplines, so people from I think 4 or 5 different schools meet, and they learn about video games, and they make like 4 or 5 video games during a semester. And it's like a big event every year, but you can choose to go forward with one of the video games that you make and come in sort of an incubator to maybe release it at some point. So one of the other teams, not my team, actually got in an incubator with one of the games, which is cool. And so right after we graduated, I think it went like a couple of months, and then I got asked if I wanted to join the team, which I obviously wanted because it was a really cool game. Did you see the trailer?
Yes.
It's super cute. It's a cute game, and it was super fun. So we just started, working on it, and we're a handful of guys from this different disciplines. Like we're 2 artists and 4 programmers, I believe. Yeah, I think so. And at some point, we just realized, because we were really new, like we're all recent graduates, right? We just succumbed to feature creep. If you don't know what it is, it's just.
I think you should definitely explain for everybody which I had to Google that when I first saw the term.
Yeah, so feature creep means that as features keeps creeping up on you, like you keep adding more features, and at some point you just gotta cut it and say, hey, we got our game, or we got the amount of features that we want, and just let's go. So, but we didn't.
No.
So we had this small sort of a vertical slice of the game, which was super fun and worked. And we just started, putting stuff on that had no place there, to be honest. Which is sad, but we realized this just a couple of months before we eventually quit. That we should probably work smarter. So we cut a huge chunk of the game. And then we wanted, it was a tough decision, and then we wanted to work smarter, because it has kind of been some time where we've all been in the industry. This was a side project, so we learned that maybe we should work smart instead of working hard, So we wanted to transition into working smarter, which to this day I'd say is always a good call, guys. Especially if you're a small team, don't just work hard. it won't end good. So
what year was that?
That was, I don't know, man, 6 years ago. 6, yeah, 14, 15, I'd say.
Right.
So we wanted to make it modular and make it much more accessible to scale. Instead, we should probably just have released it and see if anyone thought it was funny, like we did. Even though, I mean, that's probably one of the takeaways is you gotta test a lot, and you gotta make sure that you don't just waste a lot of time making something that no one enjoys.
Interesting. So how long did it take you to build the whole thing? Well, I mean, it didn't go to the market, but still, how long you were working on this?
So I actually think we finished a prototype really quickly, like with all the graphics and with a couple of levels. And then we just used, like I said, a lot of time doing shit that probably shouldn't be in the game. And so the core game didn't take too long. I think somewhere between 6 and 12 months.
Okay.
Of spare time work. And then it was kind of a uphill battle from there, right? But it was a big learning experience because we actually had all the incentives to make this thing work. We even had an investor come in.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, things were rolling, but it's also every project has a period of a rut. That's just how it is. As artists, I'm sure everyone here knows that you have points where you have definite dips in your motivation, and you just want to say, fuck it.
Yeah.
And I think that got to us. So that's where it kind of just got cut.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, what was your experience as an artist, and was it your first gig or not?
So I wouldn't exactly call it a gig since I was part of the team. Yeah. But it was cool. I learned a lot about, because since it was a mobile game, and this was before my experience in the TV industry. So I worked too much on details. I ended up sitting there, and when I was making a chest, I would make veins in the wood, and I would make all these small sort of highlights and all the cool stuff that you want to show off, right? But you couldn't see it on the mobile screen, so I was just wasting hours of my time.
Right.
So those are one of the big takeaways. You just try to not spend time that's wasted. You can do stuff that's that no one's probably gonna see, but if they can see it, it's probably worth the time. But I'll say the smaller the screen, how
no, of course.
What can you do?
Yeah. And so basically as an artist, you had to design everything from characters to props to environment and everything like this.
Yeah, for sure. And it was really fun because we only had those kind of 5-6 months of Unity work. So this was our first really big project, and it was a lot of fun, and game engines certainly have come a long way since back then, but getting into that stuff was a good experience, I'd say. Something I definitely hope to do more of. Yeah.
Would you do it again? I mean, not the same project, but would you do an indie game again?
I probably would. It's a lot. I mean, if I had the time for it. I mean, obviously, I'm not one who can do it with 8 kids and a full-time job. But
no. Oh my God, yeah. That's.
But I actually think it's a lot of fun. There's a lot to learn from being a smaller team. I've done some work where I've been the only artist lately, and you just gotta step up your game because there is no one there to do it for you or help you even. So you just gotta grab him by the balls and get
get it done. Yeah.
Yeah, and you learn a lot from it for sure.
Yeah. So, as an solo artist or one of the 2 artists, what was the hard part? How did you deal with art direction? Yeah.
So the good thing is that my good friend was the art director because he was the original artist on the project. So we just talked about it. There was no big deal about who's going to decide what. I think the biggest problem we had was actually optimization. We're still pretty new to that. He had an internship in a game studio, so he was much more used to it than I was. But it was in a completely different engine that was custom made. So we were into a lot of issues with that for sure. So I still think it's probably getting better since hardware is a lot better nowadays. But optimization for mobile games can definitely be a bottleneck.
Okay. So eventually the project got
it just
aside.
got it's gathering dust by now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's funny because it just kind of slid out. It's not like a huge fight about it or anything. It's just kind of something like how friends glide apart. No one's talking about it. It's just, hey, we lost the motivation, and it's so bad because it was right at the finish line, right? Just be wary of that. Have you seen I think it's called Indie Game the Movie or something like that, where this guy is making Fizz?
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'll watch that. I'm just taking a note of that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because it actually, now that I think about it, it's a lot like our experience. Like by the end, you're just so burned out, and you just really wanna either quit or get it out the door, right?
Yeah.
And this guy, he's just having a mental breakdown on show. It's crazy.
Well, having mental breakdown as a 3D artist is not a rare thing. No matter what.
Definitely not. No.
Yeah. I remember we were just talking about that just before we went live.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks ago. I had one. Yeah, I was sure this project would never get done. I was sure I was gonna have to go into hiding, and it would be too ugly to show, and I mean, it would be a stain on my reputation. But everyone goes through it. I mean, we were talking about it in class, and everyone was agreeing that they had the same experience at some point, like getting into a rut, and like every project has it, almost no matter how short it is. Like at one point, you just wanna sprain your ankles and walk on them.
Yeah. So what was your recent project that caused a major breakdown?
It was the likeness project. So
yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So the thing is, when I went from the sculpt and into texturing and rendering and looked up, everything just broke, and nothing was looking right. And I tried putting on a groom, and that looked so bad. I didn't know what to do about it because I kind of see myself as I know how to groom stuff.
Yeah.
But when I got it from Maya into Marmoset, it like shit just hit the fan. That was not worth looking at. So bad.
No.
So I just had a little bit of a breakdown, and I think I had 3, 4, maybe even 5 days of like being super anxious about it and stressful about it. And that talk with the team and Farid actually really helped out a lot because we just talked about and just realizing everyone goes through it.
Yeah.
You can never hear that too many times.
No, never. I asked you before the recording, but I'm gonna just repeat my question because I think it's quite interesting. So basically, you've mostly worked with stylized stuff, like with TV shows. So for me, it's just interesting. Why did you decide to go and learn stuff about likeness and make this hyper realistic character? Just like. I'm just gonna actually pull it on the screen in a minute. But yeah, meanwhile.
So honestly, it's really interesting. Like faces are super interesting, and hitting realism is kind of a benchmark of what you can do, right? It's like you can hide your problems easier in stylized stuff, I think, because you can just say it's stylized. It's really hard to do in realistic stuff. So it was a bit for the challenge, and because I find it really interesting. I obviously want to work more with stuff like this, but it's a really good challenge, and I think that's also one of the hallmarks of success is that you kind of have it tough for a while, like or you think it's difficult. That's where all the growth is gonna come from, right?
Yeah. So basically, for you, it was just like a next challenge. This guy.
Yeah. Actually, hitting it and being proud of it was the challenge, I'd say. Because I've made characters before, and it's just I always felt like I had that kind of cheap look to it. Like I was just missing the third spice. And I think I'm definitely getting closer to it, and this project has forced me to to definitely like kind of push my boundaries of what I'm capable of.
Yeah, no, I think it's an amazing project. I think, like I'm just scrolling through your Earth station, and I think it's definitely a huge progress from what it was in the beginning. And I don't know if there are any unpublished likenesses in your,
I think
in
you
your-
can go to my
task.
blog. I
Yeah.
think you go to my blog on ArtStation. I have some earlier versions of it even. I'm not sure if I have some.
Yes?
Yeah, I might have.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try to get there. So you mean earlier versions of the same project?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I have a different project though. I might have. Otherwise, there might be some on Instagram. So yeah, so you can see it came a long way. Like the first, from the first block out.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, the first block out is just like a generic white guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's look at some generic Caucasian face.
and the middle one is an alien. So you gotta go through the. I had a teacher at school who said at some point every project is gonna look like a rocket ship. And I guess for humans that'll be an alien.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see a little bit of an alien face there. Yeah, well, like I think you should definitely be proud of what it is right now. I think it's like a really like turned out really nicely. So, what's about like for everybody who's attempting a realistic character or like a hyper realistic character, what do you think is the most difficult part about like nailing the likeness?
Like I'd say the likeness is it's just super hard. I don't know what exactly is the hardest part about it. I
mean, you just completed your first complete likeness, like from a sphere, and it looks pretty rad. So and you overcame the breakdown. So that means that I think it's 3.
Actually, one of the things I think we talked about it earlier, that you gotta pull it out, like, because when just working, you have a tendency to kind of lose sight of what's important or what's different from your sculpt to the pictures. So either you got to leave for a couple of minutes and come back, or like I like to just take some renders in the same view as some of the, like a side view or front view or 3/4 view, put it into Photoshop and just take my big fat red marker and just draw like an outline of all the shapes that I want to hit.
Yeah.
Say like the shape of the brow, the shape of the mouth, the vermilion border here, and shape of the jaw. Those things, because it's really hard to see when you're just working. But once you get it, when you see the contrast of the two just outlines, which are super clear, you can definitely tell where you need to like tuck things. So I just think that you gotta pull back a lot. Like you gotta step back and have a look at it with a critical eye instead of just tucking away at it, because you can really get lost and just you could kind of get blind to what's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, it's important to take a step back, but also I don't know, like you said before that for you the spotlight tracing was the kind of a when it finally clicked, when it finally like you saw the likeness. If you had to redo this project from scratch, what would you do differently? I don't know. Do you think there is a faster way to do it? Do you think there is a better way?
I think there's a faster way, and that's simply getting faster, like doing it a lot. Because I was actually thinking about that the other day. Like, so if I would do this again, there's not a lot of things I would do different, but I would definitely feel like I'll be more confident in my ability to go ahead and just don't question my decisions as much. Because you can sort of get into a state where you're afraid of ruining the sculpt, but it's also not perfect yet. So you're just kind of in this stalemate of you don't want to change it, but you also want to get it better. And I think it's just get confident in it. Trust your strokes would probably be the sense.
Yeah. Interesting. So do you think you will be making like more likeness projects for your portfolio, or more like stylized? Because like now you're like in the middle, so
I think both.
What's the next thing?
I have a few ideas, but I actually signed up for the 3D printing program that you guys have, because I want to get into that a little bit, because I have a friend with a printer, and I figured it could be a lot of fun to just explore that area a bit, because that's also slightly stylized, right?
Yeah.
And I think that could be fun, but I'm definitely not done with doing realistic hits at this point. I think it's a great challenge, and starting over, I'm probably gonna have the same breakdown at some point and overcome it, hopefully.
But like in terms of 3D printing, you've already given yourself the best advice. Like, don't focus on details.
Exactly.
It's just like when you're saying
guys.
that, I was actually thinking of 3D printing because, well, I'm just like, I frequently bring her up on the podcast, but basically,
that one.
Like, how much can you see? And that was like, that was a realistic face, but like you smooth it up, and the same for hair. Like, how much can you actually see, the tolerance? And it's just like, it's a real example of anything that we also see on the screen, like that we just,
Yeah.
So
sure.
It's everywhere is about this aspect, just like focus on the important thing, but like the shape, you can't take it away, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a cool challenge as well, because you can easily end up doing details that just make it look busy and kind of annoying to look at, right? When it's it's just gonna have this flicker when you look at it. And I think it's a cool challenge to try and see how it could go and try to dodge that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then like there is also another thing that I wanted just like to touch on real quick, because I'm always curious about how different artists find their gigs and clients, and like how do you navigate your way to, well, basically getting paid for what you love. Like, so what's your approach?
I don't know. I don't have an approach. I just get called up and I get to work. No. So obviously in this industry, it's not that big, though. It's growing quite rapidly. The way to get gigs is just to get out there and make sure people know your face and know that you're a nice guy to work with. So basically all my gigs I've gotten through, connections. Like someone's been asking around, like, hey, do you know anyone who can do this particular job that I need done? And they'll ask me, hey, would you mind if this guy calls you? And that's how it happens. And it's such a frustrating answer because it feels like it's out of your control in a way. But that's been my experience, that it's actually quite hard to get through a lot of the barriers unless someone knows you're nice to work with and you do your stuff well and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's frustrating or not, but once you've been in it for long enough, the time factor definitely starts playing in your advantage.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And so when you say that people know about what you do, like, how do they get to know? I mean, I'm just like trying to, unroll this ball for like some people who are really curious.
So I think it helps a lot to have worked in a big studio. Like when I say big, I mean just above 100, because you get to know a lot of people, and in this industry, people have a tendency to not have a stable job, at least not stay the same place for years and years and years. So once people kind of split, you just have like a lot of people talking for you. Like if you've been working really nicely with a concept artist or an animator or a director, and they'll get to another studio and they'll be like, hey, this guy is really nice if we need someone who can do this type of work, and I know him personally and I can just give him a call. So that's definitely one of the big factors.
Yeah.
I think if you're working in a smaller studio, it's probably a bit harder to get the connections. You'll have to do a bit more kind of work to get out there. Maybe go to some events. Oftentimes they're like small local events where you can get to know people and trade secrets.
But for you, basically, you had the experience of a bigger studio.
Yeah. Wilfilm, which was one of my first real gigs, I'd say, was pretty big. Probably one of the biggest here in Copenhagen in terms of animation, at least. I don't think in terms of games, but so
but I definitely agree. It's like people move a lot.
They do, like especially like the animators. These guys are all over the place. They'll often have these shorter contracts but they're also easier to kind of throw around, right?
Yeah, cool. So I know you trained as an animator, right? So like
no, as a generalist, but most of it was
generalist.
Yeah. So at my university, we learned everything, also compositing, that kind of stuff. But most of it was actually animation.
Okay.
Which sadly is not. I've never animated professionally. So
Yeah. So, but you're not going there like back to animation, right?
No, it's just there's so many great animators, and I don't find it that enjoyable, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's important to do just like what you love, like what
Exactly.
what you're best at, and finally it goes like specializing more and more, like so everybody's just like super niche, which is amazing.
I think it's good to have like a couple things you can do. Like if you can model, texture, and rig, or light, or do some compositing. Like if you have like 2-3 things at least, so you're easier to hire and easier to keep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you're super focused, especially in if you're in a smaller city or smaller country, it's gonna be a bit tougher for you to stay at a job. Say you're living in Copenhagen and you want to stay in Copenhagen and you want to be a creature modeler. Like, dude, there's 2 months of work for you a year, maybe. There's no one. It's impossible unless you do remote work.
Plus a lot of competition as well.
Exactly, it's like super high competition, really low availability. It's a perfect storm.
Oh my god. Well, I mean that doesn't sound exciting, but yeah. Actually, this is also that I get to hear a lot about like just having several things and mastering those. But kind of moving slightly away from generalist terrain, but still. Just like not having just like one thing, like just sculpting is not enough.
No, definitely not. Like you kind of will turn into like a ZBrush cowboy or something. Like it's just not. It's not really production work. It's just it's more hobbyist work, right? But I also think the problem with being a generalist is that you kind of have to be almost as good as people who are specialized in every field. It's really hard for a generalist to take a rigger's job, for example. It's just not going to happen because rigging is a super hard discipline, right? So there are certain drawbacks to being a generalist for sure.
For sure. So Jeff, as we're wrapping this up, we've got a little tradition here that you've probably seen before. So I'm going to put you through the same painful process of the 10 questions where you've got to answer like pretty quickly.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Quick, this is going to be a challenge.
Well, that's fine. Number 1 tip for combating distractions when working from home.
Close the door, I'd say. I don't know. I love this Forest app because it's for me.
Which app?
It's called Forest. So you use it to. It's kind of a different way to use the Pomodoro technique, if you ever heard of that.
Okay, yeah, I love Pomodoros, yeah.
And then every time you go through one of these sessions, it'll plant a little tree for you. So eventually you have a forest. And it's it's really quite cute. So I use that a lot just as a way of, making sure I don't touch my phone. Because if I touch my phone, it'll die. So it's just like a little game I play with myself.
Really?
The tree dies. It becomes a dead tree. And you'll have to watch the dead tree for a year.
I'm so glad I asked this question. This is amazing. Yeah, Forest app. Kyle here reminds.
It's like a little forest Tamagotchi or something, I guess.
Jesus. Okay, cool. I'll definitely check it out. Amazing. So, favorite tradition or holiday?
I'd say definitely summer. So I live in Denmark, which is basically cloudy and rainy 90% of the year. And then we have this week during summer, which is amazing.
Like 1 week?
No, maybe it's 2 or 3 months. But being hyperbolic is probably a week. But so I just love the summer. And hopefully we get to travel again this year. I want to get to like Southern Europe or something. Yeah, because this rain is getting to me.
Yeah. Well, okay, that's fine. Summer is coming for sure. Number 3, what's your favorite way to get in some exercise?
I like to lift heavy things and put them down.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, I was one of those people who started running during the pandemic.
Okay.
I was also one of the people who sprained their ankle during the pandemic. So yeah, lucky me. But I found that it's really working from home. It's really nice if you can take like 30 minutes at like 12 or 1 o'clock. Just go for a run, come back home, and kind of leave the strain from your eyes and just get some fresh air. Helps a lot to kind of split the work day up like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, actually, this is so true. When we work from home, we never do. We never have like proper breaks. Like,
No, exactly. It's really hard to do.
It's just like one, like all in one go, like boom.
Yeah, like who are you gonna sit and talk with and have lunch?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like there's not enough motivation even. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna throw you the wild card, and it's a question from the audience.
Oh.
Number 4. Best software for texturing.
Oh, this is gonna be one of those religious wars. I think at the moment I use Substance Painter mostly, and Photoshop. But I think Marmoset is looking promising. Like in Marmoset 2x4, they started having texturing tools added, and I think it looks super promising. So I hope to check that out more soon.
Yeah, awesome. Next
and also,
question.
Don't go to Maori. No, that's another.
No, I mean it's also a bit pricey. I mean, I'm no one to judge like prices, but anyway, it's Number 5. What's your source of inspiration?
This is one of those questions I feel like Americans are amazing at answering. Like it's my family, kids. I know. I think nature mostly, and just looking at cool stuff. I guess I really like. I have a friend who's a biologist, and I like to talk like morphology and stuff with him, and that inspires me quite a lot actually. Like talking about the extremes and that kind of things. But mostly I just look at cool shit and think, oh, that's super nice. Like I love those shapes like on ArtStation or Pinterest. Like that's probably it. I don't think I have like one source of all my crazy amazing inspiration.
Yeah. Well, that's cool though, huh? Like just like looking at shapes, and not many people can get inspired from just looking at shapes. So
no, I think you start to appreciate shapes, like basic shapes and proportions, more as you get more of a senior artist. I think.
Yeah. Yep. Agree with that. So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I think you gotta sucking is the beginning of being less terrible. It's probably not say.
All right, amazing. How do you celebrate little victories, if you do?
I actually saw this question, or I heard it, and I wanted. Have you ever watched Suits?
No, that's another thing I should watch.
I don't know. It's a show about some lawyers, and every time they win, they have this celebration or this tradition. And I thought about maybe I should have something like that whenever I have like a victory that's worth celebrating. Like, I don't know, popping a champagne, or I don't know.
Yeah, or like just like installing a bell next to your.
Something like that. Like, yeah, so I can also disturb, my girlfriend working next door, like sitting here jamming the bell. Just something. I think it's a cool thing to have, like a ritual for it. But I don't really. I just feel super good whenever I finish a bigger project.
Cool. So, if you could see one movie again for the first time, which one would you watch?
I'm not sure it's a movie, but have you seen the series Death, Love, and Robots? I would love to rewatch that, and thankfully, second season's coming out soon.
Yeah, thankfully, the third season is coming soon as well.
Oh, nice! I haven't heard that, but
yeah. It's not like coming soon, but they're working on it as well. So.
Oh, nice! But yeah, I would love to rewatch that, and I look forward to the second season.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So, and finally, what's your backup career?
I guess I don't really have a backup. I guess I would. Oh, I know. I will become a personal trainer on Instagram, and I will sell detox tea, and I will make booty pics, and I think it's a pretty good deal. I'm really bad at the social media game, but I'm sure I can learn. Probably have to get like a Brazilian wax treatment or something like that, but
Oh my god, this is amazing. Okay, that we'd better just like pray that you stay in 3D.
Unless you want
God,
to see
I don't
me.
want another Instagram personal trainer.
You don't want my detox tea?
No. I mean, like, I'm just like, my Instagram is like all over. So
I'm super disappointed.
Only if it has your face in it. Like, Buddha body with your face and it's detox.
Oh, that would be nice. the Go Bald detox tea.
Absolutely, yeah. This type of thing. Amazing. Well, okay, Jeff, that's like we're done with my excruciating questions. So
Cool.
Thanks so much for for answering. And I'm gonna just remind everyone that Jeff is on ArtStation, and if you want to see more of his stuff, there is also his his Instagram. So I'm gonna pull back the ArtStation. Well, that's the blog. But anyway, so we've got Jeff Hansen on ArtStation and pretty much the same Jeff H. Hansen on Instagram, right? That's correct. Yeah. Perfect.
Also on Twitch, if anyone would like to see the next likeness.
You stream. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, and also on Twitch. Cool. I think there was a link from your ArtStation to your Twitch. I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think so.
Somewhere.
Otherwise, I'll add it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, okay. So, Jeff, I'm letting you go. Thank you so much for joining me this Friday, and it's been really cool.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the tea, but I'm looking forward.
I'll try to avoid it. Let's keep it like that.
I am looking forward to the next likeness project. If if it's on your agenda, I think that would be really, really cool to just to see a little bit of a collection there.
Sure.
I think that would be really, really awesome. Thanks again, guys, for watching us ramble here, and welcome to be back next week. My name is Maria JD, and I'm here every Friday, for anyone who wants to grab a cup of coffee and learn something from different 3D artists and different journeys and things like that. So yeah, Jeff, thanks so much. I'm gonna wrap it up, and thanks everybody for watching.
Ciao.
Ciao.